Welcome to a brand new podcast we're making here at E-Riderz called Wheel Torque.
The name is a work in progress. If you come up with something better, let us know in the comments below.
Over the next half an hour or so, Steve and I are going to look at the previous 2 weeks in the EUC environment and unpack it. We'll take the time to look at all the new releases, look at what's happening in the community, and touch on what's happening at E-Riderz.
Real talk alert.
Let's start at the top and let's look at the new wheels that have been announced over the past 2 weeks.
It's been an exciting couple of weeks. We've had the Inmotion V14 teasers released and the Kingsong S16, not to mention news of production for the Begode Extremes.
Yeah.
And
we've got one almost here, right? It's getting shipped in.
We do. We've got one on the way. The V14 will be launched on the 1st of September. So the rest of the specifications will be announced at that time. So far, what we know is that we have a beastie off-road wheel coming, progressive suspension, 4,000 watt motor, Raptor controller, which has like 42 MOSFETs,
18
capacitors. That Raptor is definitely key to be able to handle performance.
Yep. The battery is one thing we don't know too much about though, right? It's a bit up in the air. We heard reports that it was going to be 100 volt, but
yes,
some Sherlock Online has looked at the image and counted the cells and calculated that it might be actually 134 volt.
It could be.
Could be, but we don't know.
We did hear also that they were going to be Samsung 50S cells, which are a 25 amp discharge cell. So that type of battery cell should be much better handle off-road kind of power performance requirements.
Now we're also hearing it's going to be a 16 by 3 inch tire.
Yep, there has been talk about there being other sizes of the wheel, but that was fairly early on in the development stage, so we don't know if that's actually continued on, whether they're going to offer an 18-inch wheel as well as a 16 in the same model.
And I also saw in the last teaser that there was a drop test or something. It was a 80 kilo rider or
90 kilo rider, 1 meter drop, no bottoming out.
And that's because of that progressive spring you said, right?
That's right. Okay. So the top half of the spring handles small bumps, and then as you compress down further into the bottom of the spring, it hardens up and basically stops you from bottoming out on big drops.
One thing I do need to say, if you go into our website to have a look at it or to pre-order it, we are doing pre-orders already. Don't be concerned, it's not $10,000. The way our system works, to do a deposit, you have to give it a value, you have to give it a price.
That's right. We didn't want anyone to get the wrong idea and think that it was just going to be $1,500, because that's what the deposit was set for.
Exactly. So if you jump on there and you see 10,000, don't freak out. That's just a number, ignore it. You can still pay your deposit, and then once they release their buy price or their sell price, we'll be able to calculate how much we can sell it for.
That's coming on the 1st of September.
Yeah, 1st
along with the rest of the specs for the V14.
Before we move on to the S16, if you've got any comments, questions or remarks about the V14 Adventurer, chuck them down below. Between Steve and I, we will go through every single comment and address it and answer it. If we don't have the answer, we'll definitely try our best to find out. That's one theme I want to flow through this whole podcast. If you've got any comments, questions, remarks, chuck them down below.
That's it.
I want this to be like a discussion.
We're here to basically answer your questions, give our feedback, and share any intel that we have with you to help you to decide whether the next new wheel is for you or not.
Perfect. S16, another one, a one we weren't expecting. I mean, we'd heard whispers of a 16-inch suspension coming from Kingsong.
Yeah, the S16 was actually developed nearly a year ago, but they ended up deciding to release the S22 instead at that time. So it does look a bit like a mini S22, but it's really designed to kind of cater for more entry-level type of riders rather than the S22 Pro, which they really were trying to release for those performance enthusiasts. Yeah,
it was something I saw. I was on the YouTube Live when they did the announcement, when they announced the specs and how it was going to look and so on, and there was a lot of not anger, but just a lot of frustration, I guess, from the community when they said,
why release an 84 volt wheel?
Why release an 84 volt wheel? Exactly.
Yeah. Look, wheels have been 84 volts for a long time. And not every wheel needs to be 100 volts and above. This particular wheel hasn't been designed to be a performance wheel. It's really trying to cater for a convenient wheel that has all the features packed in: lights, music, cushy suspension, kickstand, the full suite of features basically, but designed to be able to be ridden comfortably by smaller people, females, kids, whatever. We're really hoping that this is going to be the new all-rounder,
Yeah, because currently we recommend, like when most people come in and they sort of say their budget's not too important, we sort of go the 16Xs are fantastic.
That's it, and this is basically an upgraded 16X.
With the added-on suspension.
Yeah, and some of the other improvements they've made.
Yeah, more lights, more speakers and so on.
So who do we think the S16 is best for? An 84-volt wheel, 1480 watt-hour battery. It's basically an upgraded 16X, but it offers better comfort, a new style, and all the extra features for music, lights, kickstand, etc. I think it will be a great commuter wheel, a great wheel as an all-rounder for people to consider, you know, for their standard leisure rides.
Moving on from the S16, I want to talk about a couple of new units we've got arriving very shortly. We've got one getting airshipped in and one that's coming by boat. First one is the Extreme, second one is the K6.
Yes.
Extreme, we're getting airshipped.
That's it, and we're bringing that in early so that we can try and get a handle on, you know, who is this wheel for?
Check out the quality.
Does it stand up to the hype that it's had so far online? And understand, yeah, for trail riders and people wanting to upgrade to a higher performance wheel, is the Extreme going to be to their liking?
Yeah, and again, understanding the wheel. It's not a high speed wheel, it's a high torque wheel, right? This is designed, as you said, for trails, going up steep hills. This is not for flying along the road.
There was an instance just last night that where someone, one of the riders from a shop in Toronto, basically was testing its max speed, and they cut out at 80, 81k an hour.
So we made the decision to airship an Extreme in because, well, the two main reasons: we wanted to see its build quality, and we wanted to give the public a chance to try before they buy.
And we want to make the wheel available for our local content creators to get some great footage as well.
Yeah. Right, that's the Extreme. Moving on to the K6. Now this is your baby. I don't know too much about it. Steve made this decision, I think, at 4:30 on a Tuesday. He came out with a guilty look on his face, and he had spent a whole lot of money after watching a couple of race videos. Begode K6, is it called Begode K6? Extreme Bull?
There's also a version Extreme wheel, or earlier the Extreme Bull.
Okay, so we've been going back and forth on what it's actually called. Is it a scooter? Is it a motorbike? Is it a two-wheel go-kart?
It's like a low-rider seated scooter.
It's an insane piece of machine.
It's insane, he just took off like a rocket. Car's coming behind you. I'm already in love with this machine.
Jimmy Chang just featured on his channel.
He did.
Fully charged is his channel, yep.
Yes.
100 kilometers per hour, 2 different speed modes.
Yep, dual 3,500 watt motors.
Yep.
Giving you something like 9,000 watts of power.
Yeah.
With 40T Samsung cells, so high discharge cells, 2,900 watt hour capacity. So, you know, this sort of thing is going to be smoking your wheels, 134 volt system, so again it's got plenty to give, and they just look super fun.
Now the reason Steve looked a little bit guilty when he told me he'd ordered these is because he placed a pretty large order to get that buy price down, but in turn that enables us to offer it at a nice, at a nice low price. So we're going to be doing this at $5,499. There will be some shipping costs, but we will do our best to absorb as much of that as possible. So if you are interested, I know we've already sold 2 out of the lot we've got coming in. If you are interested or you're thinking about it again, go onto the website, have a look. We are doing deposits as well, but don't miss out because I think the first batch will sell very quickly. Now, before we move on to the community section of this podcast, we did get a message overnight from Begode around firmware updates. I didn't get it, Steve got it. What was it about?
Yeah, basically anybody who's updated to race mode and off-road mode should now go back in and upgrade their firmware again. Basically, they've optimized the probability of the motor shaking issue after powering the unit on, and they've also optimized the pedal tilt, which has been happening while you're in the air during large jumps.
Right, this is linked to
like
that,
Seth,
like Seth's extreme jump.
So when you're doing a huge jump, the pedals are tilting back, and then you're kind of like aren't able to maintain your balance as you're landing.
And side note, we're recording this on the 25th of August, so if you're watching this in September, you probably don't need to worry so much.
A few little tips is keeping good network location while doing the update. They recommend using Android phones because it doesn't work so well, these firmware updates, when using an iOS system.
One thing Apple's bad at.
And if the upgrade is interrupted, please reconnect to the wheel to then continue automatically updating it.
And if you are in Brisbane and you've got a wheel and you're not confident, just bring it in and we'll help you do it.
Or give us a call.
Yeah, we can talk you through it. Exactly.
It.
Right, community, let's keep moving along. Really quickly, community, we wanted to touch on new riders and I don't want to use the word explosion, but I will, the increase, that's better. The increase of awareness, but also new riders in our community. You've noticed it, I've noticed it, I know Victor's noticed it with the amount of phone calls we're getting into the shop. EUC is slowly starting to get into the public's eye. Like, people are starting to see it, they're starting to see the benefits of it.
They're seeing regular riders on their way to work each day.
That's the main, that's it, right?
That's
public
it.
transport.
That's where it's coming in. And it's a good sign because, riders are making their way to work every day with their wheels, and it's in the public eye, and people are starting to head in and ask about learning to ride.
Yeah, and they're coming in saying, oh, I don't want to keep spending $100 on petrol or $100 on parking. I don't want to get parking fines when I park outside the local shop.
If you live in the city, you can easily sit in traffic, spend $100 on fuel a week, and be, trying to avoid parking the fairly hefty pricing to park in the city. So, we are seeing more new riders coming into the community.
Yeah, and I think, as I said, I think directly linked to that, we're starting to see an explosion again in those slightly older units that are still current, but like the 18XLs, the 16Ss, the V8Ss and Fs.
Yeah, look, they're the ideal commuters. They're compact,
well built,
robust. Yeah, they sit under your desk. You can, they're portable. They've got great trolley handles, and there is a bit of a, there is a space for that type of wheel. You might have a high performance wheel that you love, trail riding with or riding fast on the weekends. But yeah, some of these other wheels that make up great commuters.
And you can take it into your building, like you just said. So another area we're seeing is scooter riders coming in who have actually had their scooters stolen. They're locking them outside their building or locking them in the underground car park at work.
Yep.
Coming out.
Every week we're hearing of scooters that have been bolt snapped, cut, stolen. EUCs obviously can walk them right into your work and leave them under your desk or somewhere.
Exactly. Just before we finish the community, I also want to talk about learn to ride. If you can already ride, you know that this is not easy. It's a bit of a challenge.
It's a bit of a hurdle initially, yeah.
We hear the same story repeated a lot where people come and they buy a unit and they take it home, they try it once in their driveway, they fall off and they sort of get a bit disheartened. They don't keep trying. We always say it takes a couple of hours to get the basics right, a couple of hours of good technique.
Everybody's different.
Everyone's different, but a couple of hours of good technique, you can generally go in a straight line. So we are doing our Learn to Rides again. We are launching them. We do them sporadically, but we want to start making them a bit more regular.
We've been holding some in the afternoons, but here at the shop, but that isn't always accessible for everybody who has
Monday
jobs
to Friday,
they can't get away from. So yes, we're back to fortnightly Saturday Learn to Ride sessions. So feel free to, if you're in the Brisbane area, jump onto our page. There's a Learn to Ride page that has a calendar there with the bookings for the sessions, and just book yourself in one.
Last thing before we end, I wanted to talk about a new product that we are now selling at E-Riderz, Stator electric bikes. These things are seriously cool with some really, really nice specs. And they're affordable. So we've got an introductory price of $3,499. I had to look at Steve for that one. He's the money guy. $3,499. We've got two different models. We've got the Scout and the Cub. One's a step over, one's a step through. Funnily enough, we all like the step through, right? It's like traditionally what you'd call a lady's bike, but it's really comfortable. I'm 6 foot. On a lot of these other sort of, what would you call them? Utilitarian or beach, how would you classify them as a bike? What would you classify this style? Cruisers. I've ridden quite a few cruiser electric bikes from around Australia stores, and they all feel a bit small. I get a bit hunched and a bit sore shoulders. These ones are really comfortable. I don't know if it's a higher seat or a bigger frame. They're 20-inch wheels,
20-inch fat tire.
Fat tire, yep.
Yep. So
motor.
1,000-watt motor, but can be limited to 250 to make it road legal.
Yes, they come limited to 250. They're Bafang motors, right? Bafang 1,000-watt motors. They come limited to meet Australian legislation rules to 250. But if you're going to use them on private property, you can unlock them.
Samsung 50E cells for good capacity, 20 amp hour.
20 amp hour, yeah. Front and rear suspension, whole heap of free accessories.
Yeah.
So we're including the rear rack, we're including the pillion pegs.
Foot pegs.
Super bright headlight. and private property accelerator, which
Yes,
doesn't come
thumb
fitted.
throttle.
It doesn't come fitted, but you can fit it yourself. And
It's got the quick connect cables ready to plug in.
Exactly.
So if you're riding on the road and you want to be like road legal, just disconnect it. You're allowed to have the throttle on the bike, so that when you go off road and off public property, you can plug it in and then.
Yep. So the bikes are in stock and ready to ship right now. And we've got some really nice colours available as well. We've got the red, black, orange, blue, grey. Is there and a green? Is there a British racing green?
A dark green. Yeah.
And a British, yeah. So these are all available. If you're in Brisbane, come on in, take one for a test ride. They do perform very, very well.
52 volt systems, so they've actually got more torque and top speed than other bikes on the market typically.
Yeah. But that is a wrap on episode 1. How did we do? Give us your feedback, but don't be too critical. Be nice. We're trying. This is a work in progress. We've got some new lights coming. We've got some better microphones coming. But really, better hosts. Well, yeah, maybe one. But really, it's not about the lights. It's not about the camera or the sound. It's about the content. So that's what we hand over to you guys and girls, the viewers. What would you like us to talk about? Was this a nice balance of product and community? Is there a different segment you'd like us to include? The power is in your hands.
But that's the end. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Real talk alert.